Live streaming is on.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is June the 12th, 2020. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Don't FOMO on alts. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. Unconfiscatable. I'm offended by selling. I'm also offended by Jitsi right now. No, by my internet connection because you can't see my face. Oh, no, but you'll see the other guest's face. It's my internet connection's fault. I haven't done a show early in Asheville yet. And I guess the connection in Asheville just isn't very good early in the morning, or at least this week it isn't. But hey, these dudes, you're going to be able to see all their beautiful faces. Tai Zen is here. I put his name in the title just to trigger everyone. Yeah, that's why I put his name in the title, because some people just go crazy when they see his freaking name out there. All right, but the other dudes are awesome also. Hass McCook is here, and introducing Linear Trav. Linear Trav is a dude who's been watching my show for a while, and that's who he is. Because here, it's not about clicks. If you're just some regular dude off the street that's been watching my show, who's a really smart dude, you get to come on the show if you want to. You never know what you're going to get here. Okay, so we're going to start off with Hass McCook here, a quote of his from This Week in Bitcoin. He says, globally, $8 billion of stimulus money has been printed every hour since COVID spending started. 8 billion absorbs 2 years worth of Bitcoin supply at this price. Profound statement there. Talk about it. So
I think the main message there is a lot of people get lost in the size difference between $1 million, $1 billion, and $1 trillion. $1 trillion is a lot of money. It's in fact, it is $1,000 billion. So globally, over the past not even very long, 100 days or so since COVID stimulus started, globally 20 trillion has gone into money printing and government programs. So $20 trillion at a Bitcoin price of 10 grand. Assuming there was no such thing as difficulty eras, and assuming there was infinite Bitcoin, it's enough to sustain the absorbing the current supply of 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes at $10,000 a coin for about 5,000 years. So when people say, Bitcoin's too expensive, or I'm too late to Bitcoin, or Bitcoin's already big enough as it is. Bitcoin really is nothing in the scheme of things, to the point where half an hour of global stimulus could carry Bitcoin for an entire year.
Now that tweet is linked to below. Now I got to ask you something, Hass. You came up with this statistic this week. Some people have been complaining about This Week in Bitcoin. They were bored, some people. Were you bored this week? Because there wasn't much fiat price activity until yesterday, I guess.
Luckily for me, I've got my my buying on auto, so I don't really follow the price much, except for when people post about it and it hits my newsfeed. So I've got like a, just like how you automatically sign up to give to charity every month, I give my charity to Bitcoin every other hour. So I think I was promised a chat about Bitcoin being a charity, and we'll talk about that maybe a little later.
Yes, we will. Now, Linear Trav, welcome to the show. I want to hear your take on the money printing, and were you bored this week?
Well, I was not bored. I was in a beautiful cabin in Minnesota, relaxing in the sun. But yeah, I think that's why we're here, right? I mean, that's why we are in Bitcoin, because of this known exponential printing of the Fed. I've been knowledgeable of, Austrian school thinking for over a decade now, and that's kind of exactly how they've said it's going to play out. Is that they're going to print trillions, and then maybe tens of trillions, and after that, hundreds of trillions and quadrillions. Who knows when they get to that? But it's happened before, and I think that's why we buy Bitcoin, because that insurance.
Now that's why some people do it. Definitely. Now we've got a guy here who I don't think he buys Bitcoin for that reason. I don't know. What's your take, Tai Zen, on the money printing, and was this a boring week for you?
Yeah, it's been a boring week. The stock market is getting more action than the crypto market right now. I'm a trader, so I'll trade anything that I can see potential how to make money. If you look at it from a philosophical perspective, if you want me to talk from a trader perspective, I just trade anything. I really don't care as long as it has an opportunity to make money. But I'm gonna put that aside. I always just want to talk about the philosophical. So I'm gonna put on my philosopher hat. Okay. So Bitcoin, there seems to be things coming out with, for example, and this is just really annoying. So I just want to make it clear to your audience in case they're not aware of it. Like Bitcoin solves 3 problems that a lot of people overlook. Okay, even though I don't own any Bitcoins right now, because I'm a trader, but from a philosophical perspective, I never forget why Bitcoin was created. Bitcoin was not created to be decentralized. It was created to be censorship resistant. It was created so that it's unconfiscatable. It was created so that it's permissionless. You don't have to worry about anything else. Just if you just remember those 3 principles, those 3 basic fundamental concepts of Bitcoin. Okay, it's censorship resistant, which means that no one can come in there and censor you when you use it. How you use it, what you use it for, the manner in which you use it, when you use it, where you use it, nobody cares. No one's going to stop you from using it. That's why Bitcoin has value. Number 2, it's permissionless. You don't need someone's permission. You don't need someone's authorization to use that network, to use that system. You can be black, white, you can be racist, you can be discriminatory, you can be brown, you can be white, you can be old, young, you can live anywhere, and you can be on the moon. When you go to Elon Musk's moon base or Mars base, you can still use it. There'll be a lag time between the transmission time, but you can still use it. You don't need anybody's permission. An alien can come to Earth right now and use Bitcoin without anyone's permission. Okay. Number 3 is it's unconfiscatable. I think it's in Argentina or Venezuela or one of those South American countries. I just tweeted out just a couple of days ago. They're talking about going in, and all the rich people, they're simply going to confiscate everyone's money, and they're going to do the same thing like they do in Greek when they did the haircut. They just went in there and said they're trying to pass a law right now. And if I get the country wrong, it's okay, But just remember, they can go in there and confiscate your assets, the wealth and the money that you created in your life for you, your employees, your business, your family and stuff. No one has the right to do that. No one has the right to do that. When I left Vietnam after the war between Vietnam and the US, the reason why we had to leave was because, the government came in and confiscated. They just came into my families, we were doing okay, and they came in there and they just took everything. They would just go to everybody's house and just take your assets. You got gold? Who cares? They just take it. Fortunately, my grandmother was street smart enough to where she required them to leave a receipt to show that they confiscated her property. And then like 20, 25 years later, she still kept those receipts, and she demanded, a reimbursement from the government. And, they paid her, chump change for it, but at least she got something. A lot of the other families did not ask for, confiscation documents. And so they could never get any type of compensation for it. But if you think about it, these are the 3 things. Who cares about anything else? These are the 3 things that makes Bitcoin valuable and powerful. And sometimes, unfortunately, in Asia, I haven't met one Asian person yet, unfortunately, that understands those concepts in Asia, like a local Asian. And that's what I've been trying to spread the word over here in Asia, is that that's the reason, because in Asia they just think, hey man, it's just a way to make money and gamble, man, and just get your money and get out of there. Now I do that as a trader. Don't get me wrong. As a trader, I will do whatever, in the crypto markets to make money. However, when I put my trader hat aside and I put on my philosophical hat, I understand why Bitcoin has value and why something like that is needed in this world, especially during this time. And I want to just end it with what the previous speaker just said, about the large numbers, and when he breaks it down to the amount of money that's being printed, one thing that humans have a hard concept with is the idea of big numbers. There's a really, especially if you're a trader or you're a trader or an investor, or you just want to understand big picture economics and see how these big numbers, what they really mean, billions and trillions. There's a really good book called In Numeracy, and it's by an author named John Allen Paulos. It's probably like a first or second year college level reading material, but it's a book that explains what these large numbers means. Like when you hear about like a billion or a trillion, or what does this mean when it says millions or things like that, and the author does a really good job of breaking down illustrations similar to what our previous speaker just said, to break down what does it mean when we say a trillion. What does it mean when somebody says a trillion or a billion or a light year or things like that? And it's really, when I read that book, it really opened my eyes up to the scale of large numbers. Because as humans, we're so used to dealing with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Like the biggest number we probably work with is like the cost of our home, which is like $200,000 or $300,000, and that's it. It's rare that we deal in the millions or the billions. And so when it comes to trillions, it's like, what the hell is that? So by having him explain what does that mean when we have a trillion, how many Bitcoins that you can buy or consume or whatever, it's a very big eye opener. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, a trillion, a good way of looking at it is a million. And again, that's a difficult concept, and it's good you did recommend that book and everything. I doubt, but who knows who would check it out. But I mean, right now the word trillion is thrown around so much because of the government stimulus, and people are totally taking it for granted, and it's lost a lot of meaning, which is quite unfortunate, and many people predict that it will lead to hyperinflation in the United States. But speaking of hyperinflation, I wanted to jump to Hass McCook here, and you tweeted out about Lebanon, which I think people have forgotten about Lebanon now, because since you and I were hanging out in Australia in October, that's when the crisis began in Lebanon. But apparently a lot of other things in the world have happened since then. So what's up there?
Oh, the lira rate is up. So when we were hanging out back in October, I think the inflation had already started, and the Lebanese lira. So the Lebanese lira was pegged to the US dollar for a very long time. So basically, from the end of the Lebanese civil war in the very early 90s. Up until this time last year, 1,500 Lebanese lira was equal to $1 US, and that was the rate. So in around August last year, the peg broke. So when we were hanging out in October, I think the rate for the lira had increased from 1,500 up to 2,000, and yesterday we hit 5,000 lira. So the lira has bounced back. So it's very difficult to get a price for the Lebanese lira, because there's an official bank price and there is a street price. So yesterday the street price hit 5,000 Lebanese lira to $1. It's back down today to about 4,500 lira. So the Lebanese lira is more volatile than Bitcoin at the moment. But the official bank rate has been lifted from 1,500 lira to 3,000 lira. So still substantially less than the street price. So the country has also run out of paper dollar. So if I have, let's say I have 50,000 US dollars in the bank in Lebanon, I can go to the bank and they can show me on their computer screen that I have a balance of 50,000 US dollars. But if I want my money, they'll pay me only in lira, and they'll pay me at the 3,000 lira rate. So I take my money out of the bank in lira, I take it to the street, go to a street exchange and try to get some US dollar, and I'll have to take a 35% haircut to get my hand on some paper dollar. So naturally, in that situation, the people get unhappy. Corona has been extremely convenient for the government. So in Lebanon, I think there's only been something like 800 cases of Corona with 20 deaths. But a good way to suppress rioting and protests is to tell people to stay home because of Corona. Yesterday, the people stopped caring, and they went up to Tripoli and burnt down one of the central bank main building. The armies got involved to shut it down, and people are starting to go hungry. So who knows what's going to happen to Lebanon? There's a political stalemate. The IMF and the World Bank, and I think the French have a rescue package ready to go on one stipulation, that we get rid of our government. And obviously that's not going to happen. So the only real hope for the Lebanese is probably more pain, more hyperinflation, because hyperinflation could only get so high to the point where the army and the police will start getting poor. And when the army and the police can't feed their families, I suppose that's when things like a military coup is an option on the table. Either way, there is probably no positive outcome. And for all international onlookers, this is what happens when a government gets too deep into debt, people get too deep into debt, and there is corruption and lack of structure. So you could really say, in this case, the state is the virus.
Well, first of all, pound that like button for that insider information you gave us, because I know you've got connections there, to say the least. I do want to point out, you talked about the complexities of getting their money out of the bank now and how it's a total ripoff, et cetera, et cetera. But you also mentioned October. We've been talking about this since October. I hope there's some people out there that turn some of their worthless lira, now worthless, into Bitcoin. I mean, people can prepare. This will happen in other countries. Okay, this type of scenario, it's going to happen again and again and again. And the 20%ers out there, whatever you want to call them, I mean, they got to know that this option is on the table, that this Bitcoin option is on the table. Because, I mean, I know dudes in Venezuela that are happy as anything. Well, if they could get on the internet, they would tell you, but they can't now, that they got into Bitcoin when they did. And it really saves you. So, indeed, the situation is bad there now. But this situation was bad there in October. And there was back then, there was still a chance to actually get some value out of your lira. And
don't forget, I told you it was pinned at 1,500 to the dollar for a long time. So that was from 1990 until about last August. But only 5 years earlier than 1990, it was 4 lira to the dollar.
Yeah.
So it went from 4 to 1,800, and then they pinned it back to 1,500. So the Lebanese have a long time history with hyperinflation. And I'm not going to. You can't really exactly prepare for hyperinflation, but they are mentally and psychologically, at least, prepared for it. As they've lived it before, like 300% inflation. They've had 50,000%. So hopefully it doesn't get to 50,000%, because last time it did, basically society collapsed, civil war ensued, and the whole region was almost irreparably destabilized.
Well, here's a general rule. If you're in a developing, a so-called developing country, I don't think this world economic environment we're in right now, I wouldn't be saving in any developing currency at all. I would find a way into Bitcoin if you could. Let's get Linear Trav. Any thoughts on inflation, macro stuff, anything on your end?
Well, I think the other two guests, their experiences show that, it's very painful. And I think that's what we're seeing now is the beginning stages of the money printing and the machine go burr, right? The printer does not stop. So for the layman like me, when I hear those stories, it's definitely eye-opening. I mean, it's hard to even understand that here in the States, that it could get that bad, but it's just knowing that it's real and it's very painful. And what they're doing is, the only way we can stop it is through something like Bitcoin. Like Tai Zen said, it's completely censorship resistant.
Yes. Remember that, people. All right. Now, Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. And one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. But there is a company out there that seems to like to dabble into altcoins, to say the least. And this week, Coinbase announced, I think, 18 new altcoins, or the possibility of 18 new altcoins. And they pumped. For me, Coinbase is a private company. They can do what they want to do. A lot of people get angry at Coinbase because also earlier in the week, they announced they created some product that's going to help the DEA and the IRS. So I'll stick with you, Linear Trav, since you're an American. What do you think about Coinbase and these developments?
Well, I've used it for a long time, and I gotta say it's been painful. I got my money out of there a while ago, but to be honest, my mom still has money on Coinbase, and they just continue to disappoint. I cannot believe that they are selling their users and the entire community out like this. I think that's an absolute outrage that they feel this is the way that this technology needs to move forward. And we've known this. They've had an inkling of it, that they've shown to be anti-Bitcoin, but this is just insane that they're going this far. I don't even know. I mean, it makes you think, well, what about my old transactions with them? And they say they're not using their own users' data, but they have to be. There's no way around it. They've been the main on-ramp for Bitcoin for many, many years. And they might use a sleight of hand somehow to get around them saying, oh, we're using our own users' database. But they're fraudulent at this point. I think it's insane.
All right, Tai Zen, your thoughts on Coinbase and their altcoin madness and their perhaps collaborating with the government madness?
Okay, so I don't think it's altcoin madness. Now, I'm a trader, okay? So I'm just giving you from a trader's perspective that they are an exchange. They're in the business of listing coins to be traded by their users, by their customers. So I prefer the exchange to be neutral and just list the coins that the customers want and let the customers decide and let the market decide. When you start, to me, crypto is about being censorship resistant. So when you start censoring a user or a business on what they can do and what they cannot do, I think that, I think that that's when there's problems. Now, you did mention that there was that you think that it's fraud or whatever. I don't know. I cannot comment on that because I've used Coinbase in the past, and I'm not familiar with the fraud that you're talking about. I'm not defending them or nothing. I'm not paid by them to say that. Okay, I cannot comment on that simply because I'm not aware or aware of the fraud that you're referring to. But as far as go ahead.
Well, maybe not by law, but what is moral is not always. What is moral is not always law, and what is law is not always moral. So from the standpoint, yeah.
Yeah. If you say that, hey, from a moral perspective, from your personal moral perspective, you don't agree with their listing other coins or something, I can respect that. I usually don't accuse anyone, a person or a business of fraud unless I have very clear-cut evidence. I've been to prison in the American prison system before. And, I'm one of the few human beings on the planet that's actually been through a federal criminal trial and went to prison and actually still on the streets because normally people don't come back after you go through a federal criminal trial in America. So I'm very familiar with their system over there, their law enforcement system. So I would not accuse someone of fraud or a business of fraud if I didn't have clear-cut, law or a violation of that. Because I was accused. My brother and I were accused of things that we did not do. So, matter of fact, President Trump signed the Justice Reform Act and released my older brother from prison about 3 months ago.
Really?
So,
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Your brother?
Wow. He's been in prison 28 years, and since he and I went to prison together as teenagers, and he just got released about 3 months ago, thanks to President Trump's Justice Reform Act, because he signed a law that said that, hey, you got to sentence people correctly. You can't just sentence them to just any random sentence that you want. You have to sentence them.
Wait. So your brother is free on the streets?
Yeah, he's free, but he's stuck in a halfway house in Houston right now, simply because because of the coronavirus stuff, and also because of mainly because of that, because So
wait, have you seen your brother yet? Have you been back?
No. I've not seen him. Like, I talk to him on social media apps. I communicate through him, through video and stuff. But no, I have not seen him like in person, and he has not seen me in person or anything like that.
Well, I'm happy for justice. I mean, I don't know his whole story or anything like that. I probably should comment on it, but I'm happy your family.
We got busted with a small amount of drugs, and then the reason why he got more time than I did was because he got charged for using a gun that he did not have. In other words, like, they charged him for using a firearm which he never had. Even during trial, when the jury asked, where is this gun that you keep talking about him using, they never produced it. Like, it was never there. They just made up a charge that he had, from when he was younger, where the case got dismissed when he was younger, and then they brought that case back and said he used it. And it was mainly because we refused to snitch on our friends and other people in the neighborhood, because I grew up in the ghetto, in a very ghetto black neighborhood in the city of Port Arthur, Texas, and we refused to snitch on our friends and our neighbors, so they just slammed us with a bunch of time and a bunch of crap, But thanks to Trump, got it corrected. So he got released. So instead of doing another 7 years,
sorry. I just want to say that this has been an unplanned beyond Bitcoin moment here, people. You never know what you're going to get. Tai Zen has quite a story here. So all these guys are linked to below. So please follow Tai Zen. And as everyone can tell, I'm very surprised by this news. But okay, let's get back. Sorry, Tai Zen. You were talking about the issue with Coinbase. Also, is speaking of snitching. Are they? What do you think about them working with the IRS and the DEA?
I grew up in the hood, so we have a model that says snitches get stitches. That means that they get beat up and then they get cut up and they get shot and stuff. And in this case, when you use Coinbase or any exchange, they have access to your personal data and your personal ID, and by law, they after you trade a certain amount of money, right? After you go past a certain amount, by law, they have to report that to the IRS, to the Internal Revenue Services, the tax man, and to the government. So if you do that in the stock market, the brokers like TD Ameritrade, like Charles Schwab, they report that too. So to me, if they report that to the government, that you actually want an exchange that actually follows the law and does what they're supposed to do. And sometimes we forget that the crypto, when we use the crypto, it's censorship resistant, it's private, it's permissionless, and we don't need it's unconfiscatable. However, if we take our crypto and we give it to an exchange to hold on to it for us, whether to buy it, to sell it, to store it, whatever reason, I don't recommend you store any crypto on any exchange. But if you put it on the exchange, now you are in their jurisdiction where they have to follow the laws of their country. So we cannot blame them that. Now, if they provide software, okay, that's one thing. Now we're talking about if they provide software to the government law enforcement agencies so that the law enforcement agencies can spy or analyze your trades, your transactions and stuff to see what you're doing, right? Now that's a different story. Now that comes back to, it's a moral issue of, do you agree that that's violating your personal financial privacy or not? Now, here's the thing. You don't have to use them if you don't want them to interfere with your personal financial privacy. Like, I always recommend that people that get into crypto, especially if you're dealing with small amounts, like less than like $50,000 or so, to go through an exchange that's possible where you don't have to reveal your personal ID, all your personal identification identifying information, if you don't want an exchange or somebody else to know what you have. The only difference is that you have to pay a slightly higher price, and you have to go. It takes a longer period of time to get the amount.
Tai, I got a specific question though. You've talked about two kind of separate things here. I want to clearly separate them. Coinbase is developing a product that will allow the IRS and the DEA to study public information, just all sorts of public information. Do you think, does that bother you enough to
No, it does not bother
with Coinbase?
No, it does not bother me. I think that the problem that people have is because it's Coinbase that's doing it and not an individual company. If Haas or myself or you or somebody else is doing that, right? If it's an individual that has nothing to do with a cryptocurrency exchange, like that one company called, I think it's called Chain Analysis or something like that, they do a similar thing. It's basically, it falls in the category of cryptocurrency forensics software. That's the category that it falls under, right? So that the tax man and the law enforcement can use it to, do their whatever their tax research to see who's violating tax laws and who's violating the laws of the country. Someone is going to make that. Someone is going to make that, regardless if it's Coinbase or if it's Chain Analysis. There's going to be companies that come out and do that, and I expect more companies to come out and do that. So I don't think, that's just the market. If the market needs that type of tool, someone's going to create it, right? Maybe there's a moral issue. Like, it kind of eats us up, the fact that, hey, you're the exchange I'm using, and I'm giving you my Bitcoins, and now you're gonna go snitch on me.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, that's Ty. That's Sorry.
Yeah, but if it wasn't an exchange like Chain Analysis, like there's a big fuss when Chain Analysis announced that they had software to. I hope I got the name correct, but there's a company out there, I think it was Chain Analysis, somebody that said that they can do. And then I talked to one of those people at one of the what do you call it, at the boxes at the Texas Rangers baseball stadium in Dallas, right? In Arlington, in the state of Texas. And that lady that I talked to, she said that whatever transactions you make on Bitcoin, she says we can find out where it goes. She says there's no hiding it. She says that we've done it, we've tested it, and any transactions you make, she says that we can trace it down. We may not know who that at the moment, but she says that if they make enough transactions, if you make enough transactions, she said that we can find out who it is.
It's a business model out there that many people find immoral and disgusting, but it is out there. Chain Analysis actually announced this week that they can do it with Zcash and Dash also. I want to get Haas's take on Coinbase from the Australian perspective here.
Yes, I probably agree bits and pieces, or maybe even in full, with the others. Like, I don't like Coinbase. I think their practices are extremely dubious. But like, it is what it is. People now protesting, going out, defund the police, whatever. Just defund Coinbase. Just stop using them. If you don't like them, don't use them. Because unfortunately, like, the casino industry is like, it's here to stay. And if it's not Coinbase that's listing these coins, it's Binance. If it's not Binance, it's Bittrex. If it's not them, it's them. Like, if you don't like them, don't use them, and recommend against their use to people, like asking when they're getting into Bitcoin. So for me, when like, and you know, every kind of evangelist is unique. So I've got the saving / donation approach. So when people ask me about Bitcoin, the first thing I tell them is make yourself a weekly budget and just start buying every week, DCA. And like, now there are several companies that just provide a pure DCA experience. So, you know, if you're in America, you've got Swan, Cash App, River. In Australia over here, we've got like Bitteroo and Amber. In England, you've got CoinFloor. In continental Europe, you've got several options popping up. Bull Bitcoin in Canada. Basically, anywhere you go now, like, at least, you know, in the Anglosphere, if you want a Bitcoin only option, which allows you to save, you know, at fixed intervals, daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whatever, that's all available to you now. At lower fees in many cases to places like Coinbase and whatnot. But if trading is your game, and you know, altcoins are your game, you know, if there's a game to be played, somebody's going to make money providing a playground. So I don't agree with what Coinbase does. So I don't use them and recommend against them. And eventually, you know, that line of thought will either pick up steam and people will stop using Coinbase and Coinbase will go out of business, or that line of thought doesn't pick up steam and people continue to use Coinbase and Coinbase keeps going strong. So it's the nature of the free market. So yeah, if I don't like something, I just won't spend my money there.
So,
all right, Hass.
can I add something on top of what he just said here?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
From a philosophical perspective, I agree with what he just said, with what Haas just said. But now, as a trader, okay, I just want to share this with your audience. So, you know, the risk of losing your money and getting hacked and all kinds of stuff, okay, is significantly higher with a new exchange or just some random exchange. Coinbase is the biggest, not just an exchange, a crypto exchange, but the last time I checked, they had like over 12 million users in 2017. And by now, they should have even way more than that, probably over 15 million users since then, right? They are the biggest broker in America. And they are partially owned by the New York Stock Exchange. So all the rules, regulations that they have to comply with to be a legitimate broker in America, they are doing their best, because, you know, the New York Stock Exchange, I think, invested like $75 million into them way back in like 2013 or 2014. So I'm saying that because if you have a large amount of money, and large is different for everyone, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say this. If you have more than, like, let's just say $10,000 that you want to put into crypto, I'm going to say that that's one of the safest exchanges that you can use in America. Okay, and if you have access to it from Europe, Australia, or Canada, that is by far one of the most safe, the safest exchange, and it has the most experience with in the markets to prevent from getting hacked, and they can scale, and you can buy large quantities of crypto safely. I cannot say that about too many exchanges. There's only like maybe 2 or 3 exchanges in the world that you can buy like $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million worth of crypto safely, and know that you're not going to get ripped off or get hacked or easily. Okay, so I just want to put that out there so that if you have any viewers or users that say that hear this, you know, I don't want them to think that, hey, I'm not going to use Coinbase. If you're an elderly person, you're not good with computers and stuff, that is probably the safest exchange in America for you to use, outside of like that and Gemini. Okay, like I had a client that just recently had to buy like $1 million worth of crypto. That was the only exchange that we could recommend them to buy it at in America. We're not going to recommend them go to like a decentralized exchange or some exchange offshore, right? And the other thing too is that when it's time to do taxes, when you have to pay your accountant to do taxes, the more hours that your accountant has to spend to figure out what your taxes are from crypto, because most accountants don't know how to do crypto taxes, okay? That's going to cost you a lot of money. So at Coinbase, they issue you a 1099 in the tax forms that you need to file your taxes in America, and they're getting better and better at it. You know, it's not the best, but they're getting better and better at it each year, right? So that they can comply with the tax laws in America. So just having that at the end of the year, you can print it out, or they print it out for you, and then you just give it to your accountant. It reduces the amount of time and money that you have to pay your accountants to do taxes. Now, I understand from a philosophical perspective, there are people that don't like to pay taxes. People that don't like to comply with the tax laws in their country, right? I'm just saying that for the people who are planning to comply with the tax laws and who are planning to comply with the laws of their country, and they're planning to, buy a large amount, that and Gemini, Coinbase and Gemini are the safest exchanges, in my opinion, to use. And that's what I would personally recommend my family members, friends, and everybody to go use, just so that they don't get hacked. Because nothing is worse than getting hacked or losing your coins. You're a beginner, you lose your coins, that's it. You're gonna think this stuff is a scam, you're gonna think this stuff is a fraud, and we just lost a crypto user, a crypto investor, a crypto fan, a crypto supporter. And to me, it's more important to have more users and more people involved in crypto than to discriminate against certain exchanges. That's just my philosophy, okay?
Hey, Ty, I really want to jump in and get your perspective. From
Someone
a
was
trading
about to
view.
say-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, chime in.
I was just going to ask Ty, from a trading perspective, they seem to come down every single time the price spikes or drops. I mean,
Okay.
how do you deal with that? I mean, that's another problem that they have.
So we build software for ourselves to trade. Like we have the Typhoon portfolio manager that we've been building for the last few years. And one of the things that I've learned, just building software for custom software for us and our students to trade in the crypto market, to be more efficient and to be able to scale our trading. One thing I've learned is that the more users that you have, there's lots of problems that you cannot tell. Like when we have the software and we have it, when you're building software, you use 100 users. There's problems that you don't see. There's bugs that you don't see. And then when it gets to 1 million users, that is not easy. Just so you guys know, right? I talked to Charles Hoskinson, and he said that it takes about $5 million to get the software up to a point, to any software to a point where you can have 1 million users. And I've confirmed this with several developers that's been longtime developers, and they can agree that it's somewhere around there. You cannot get that 12, 15 million users without millions of dollars. And the thing is that when software bugs happen, there's things that happen that you never anticipate. You might have 15 million users, but only 1 million users are using it at one time simultaneously. And then all of a sudden the market goes volatile and it goes crazy and everybody's logging on and they're trying to buy or sell at the same time. And now you got 5 or 10 million users. It produces problems that they don't see those problems until it's being used. So if we don't know that those problems exist until people use it, how can we fix it? If they keep letting it go on for 4, 5, 10 years or something without fixing the problem, now that becomes a problem. But if it's the first time they've encountered that problem, right? And sometimes the thing, it shuts down because of the large volume of users happening. They may not even be able to replicate that and figure out what happened. Like a lot of the software bugs that we have in our portfolio manager for us and our students to use, sometimes we have to see that bug several dozen times before we finally realize, hey, what is the software bug? And then we can go in and fix it. So maybe they don't have that bug until 10 million users use it. And how often do we have that? So I'm not, like I said, guys, it sounds like I'm defending them, but I'm just sharing with you guys, we have software engineers as co-founders on cryptocurrency.market. We're building custom trading software for us and our students to use. So when we run into that, that's why we encourage our students to do this. If you have a large portfolio, we always recommend like having a lot of exchanges. Like I personally have probably about 30 to 40 exchanges ready to go, simply so that when it's time for me to sell, I have an avenues to unload the coins and be able to sell it or buy it whenever I need to. So that's just be aware of that, guys, because you talk to a lot of guys out there that only trade, $5,000-$10,000, and they don't see issues with scale when large amounts of coins are being traded, or they don't see the problems that exist when large numbers of traders are using the software at the same time.
I think my problem is
All right. I wanted to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go on, Adam. No, go on, Adam. It's all right.
No. You said I wanted you to say what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I just don't know a lot of traders, and like I try to stop people. I try to stop people going down the road. So like for most of the exchanges I use, like I'd be happy to use a back alley exchange. Simply because like my Bitcoin won't sit on the exchange for more than 15 minutes. But I do understand that that's not something many people do. Like a lot of people still use the exchange as their wallet. So and Coinbase is a fantastic example of this in terms of like number of coins in custody. People buy and sell on Coinbase, but also use Coinbase as their wallet. Which is another objection a lot of people in the Bitcoin community have to Coinbase is just they're a huge they are a huge target. Luckily, they are yet to be hacked. I think I'm not 100% sure, and if it only takes a dozen times to spot the bug, Coinbase will get it right. I think in another 2 occasions. Because I think they're 10 for 10 on the system going down. Like again, I'm not a software expert. I do appreciate that a lot of money has to go into software development. But we were talking earlier about the millions and billions and trillions. If Coinbase can't invest $50 to $100 million in their platform, like they're struggling pretty bad because they've raised at least that amount of VC funds. So for the amount of money they've raised, you would expect higher performance in times of like extreme volatility and utilization. But again, I'm probably not the best person to comment on this because I don't have a horse in the race. So well, I'm not American. Don't use Coinbase, and I don't trade.
All right. Well,
so like
we're here talking about the big boys. Coinbase is clearly a huge player. Like them or hate them. I mean, we could talk about them every week. Every week on this week that they have, they're in the news. Okay, in some form or fashion. So let's talk about someone else that's as big of a player, and that's GBTC, Barry Silbert, Grayscale, and you could talk about them every week, and people, especially fans of the halving and the supply, have been talking about GBTC a lot because, I mean, they might end up owning 2% of the Bitcoin out there at the rate things are going.
To me, that doesn't matter, man. I think that people. That's
okay. Yeah, no, what are you gonna say? Yeah. It doesn't matter. GBTC doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter.
No. It's not GBT. Doesn't matter. Like people have this concept. This what's I think it's like, I'm not a psychologist, but I think it's called like the justice mechanism. Like they did a test in college or somewhere where they bring 2 random strangers in, put $100 on the table in $20 bills, and they have person A decides how much they split it, like 40-60, 50-50, 70-30, and then 20-80. And then they tell second person B to say, hey, you decide if you guys keep that money or not. Now, neither one of them know why they're doing it the way they are. Just that person A, has to be, split the money up into 2 piles, and then person B has to decide if they keep it or not. Now, they did it, and when it was like 50-50, 100% of the time, person B would say, yeah, we keep it. And then they walk out of the room, each of them get $50. Just walk in the room, make a decision, and walk out with $50. And if person A splits it 60-40, they notice that person B will like be reluctant and kind of, grunt a little bit, but they go ahead and agree that both people should keep it. Now, when it goes to like 70-30, right? Person B, they were shocked that some of them said, no, we shouldn't keep it. And then when it got to 80-20, it was even worse. The number of people that would say, no, none of us should keep the money. Now think about that. You walk into a room and you get to decide, hey, should I keep the money or not? And you walk away with $20. And you would say no to that? Like, you didn't do anything, you had to say no to that. And I think in psychology, they call it the justice mechanism. Like, it's not fair. Like, there's this innate nature in humans that we don't feel that that's fair. Okay, even though it was.
What's that got to do with GBTC, though? Or everything you said.
Okay, GBTC. It's not just GBTC. It's the amount of Bitcoins that someone has. Like, there's always this thing in crypto.
Okay. I don't think people. If they control 2% of the Bitcoin, they are a big player. I mean, they're a big player in the space.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you own, 20, 30% of the Bitcoin. Bitcoin can be divisible to 100 million Satoshis. It goes out to 8 decimals. It's more than plenty of of math to accommodate. If we need a $10 trillion supply of currency, the 21 million Bitcoins, right? It's more than plenty. It goes out to 8 decimal places, and most people don't realize how big that is when you go out that far. That's a lot of when we talk about scale, that's a vast, large number of scale. If we need $1 trillion, $10 trillion, $100 trillion, 1,000 trillion, whatever numbers that it goes up big, Bitcoin can accommodate that with no problem. Yeah, the idea that someone controls 2% or 5%, it's just, to me, it's just people are not, they have a justice mechanism mindset more so than anything else. They think,
my bigger point is that Bitcoin isn't going to move. That they're buying Bitcoin at a rate faster than new Bitcoins being produced. That's why people keep on writing about GBTC. That they're buying it up.
Who cares?
That's what. But people who complain about supply, people who care about the supply shock and the halving and the stock to flow, those people.
If you complain because I own too many Bitcoins,
not complain though. It's not complain.
You're trying to censor how many Bitcoins I can own. It's a permissionless network. It's a permissionless network.
Okay. No one's angry at them for that. People are happy that they're buying more. That it's the whole stock to flow issue. That's what this is.
Not me. I'm angry.
You're angry. You're angry. Okay, okay. Let's stop. Linear Trav.
I'm not angry.
Linear Trav. You're an economist or something. You said. What do you think about that? There's only X amount of Bitcoin being produced a week now, and this one big player is buying a lot of it and taking. So there's not as much for everybody else to buy, which I think is good.
Yeah, I'm not accredited by any means, so I can't buy it directly from them, but I understand the process and I understand the allure of investors getting in. And actually, it's a cycle. These investors, they sell their Bitcoin every 6 months for that premium, and then they buy back the GBTC. That's kind of the hidden secret that Barry won't tell you, is that that's what these users are doing, and they're making that premium every 6 months, and then they're buying more, and they're continuing. I mean, I don't want to say it's a Ponzi, but I mean, is it good for Bitcoin? Right now, it's definitely good for the investors, that's for sure. But I'm not even sure people are in it for the Bitcoin. They're in it for that premium every 6 months, and they're selling and they're buying back. That's it. And someday they might not buy back. So I think there's a potential.
So as a trader, okay, because I don't see them using it in that manner, guys. Yeah, I'm just giving you
trading,
guys.
Though.
I'm giving you guys a trader as someone who, we help our students trade, and manage 7, 8, 9-figure portfolios. We're not chump change traders.
Right.
Okay. So I'm just telling you guys, right? If you have, let's just say, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay. If you have $1 million portfolio and you want to put $500,000 into crypto, and you have that $1 million in a retirement account, okay, you cannot just take that money out of a retirement account and go put it into crypto. People don't know that.
I got you. Right.
So you might have tax incentives. You might have tax incentives that require you to put that into, like, let's say if you have your money in America, it's called an IRA, an independent individual retirement account. So if you want to put your money that's in an IRA into crypto, you have to go through somebody, a business or a company that owns crypto in a secure custodian type process, okay? So that you can put your money in there. You can't just go and buy the Bitcoins off of Coinbase or Gemini. You can't do that. So you have to use that GBTC if you want to put your money into it. Yes, you have to pay a premium, like you said, you have to pay like an extra whatever the premium is, but the tax benefits that you get from it outweigh that. That's the reason why that premium is there.
But I'm saying you can buy it directly from Grayscale. You're not paying the premium when you buy it from them. You pay the premium when you buy it on the market, when you buy the market GBTC. You get my point? There's
So the exchanges exist for a certain solution. The Grayscale exists. There are people that need that.
Yeah.
You might say, hey man, just go out there and buy the damn Bitcoins yourself. Like buy your $1 million worth of Bitcoins yourself. They can't. Most guys in crypto, guys, here's one thing they can't see. They can't think of scale. I'm guilty of it myself. Like, you know, in 2017, when I got to the point where I'm managing a multi-7-figure portfolio, right? There was a lot of issues I didn't know. No one told me that. My mentors didn't tell me that, hey, Tai, when you get to this size of trader, these are the things that you need to manage a large portfolio like that. No one ever told me that. I had to go me and my team had to go figure it out ourselves. And now we're building custom software to handle some of the scaling issues, okay? But when we look at some of these things that we don't like from a moral perspective, we have to keep in mind that those tools and those services and those businesses are built for a reason. For example, we have team members that buy into Grayscale and GBTC and all that because that's the only way that they can put their retirement money into the crypto market.
It's a retirement solution. I want to ask the Australian perspective on. Do you have any thoughts on GBTC and that they are a major player? I think we can't deny that.
I think the only problem I have with GBTC is the not your keys, not your coins problem. But I do understand how like regulation and rules can prevent people from holding their own keys. Now the problem is when you hold 2% of the keys on behalf of other people, without proving or having the burden of proof that you're holding them and not loaning them out to shorters, I get uneasy. So for example, for the past month, GBTC alone has been buying up 150% of the new supply. So they're buying more than is being produced. You throw Cash App on top of them, they're buying up like 25% of what's being produced. So all of the new supply is being swallowed up, and some, but the price isn't going up. So it's just, I don't know, are people really, running out the door at this price? Are there really people, leaving like an exodus, like en masse in Bitcoin at this price? There's something for me that's personally fishy about all of the supply being swallowed up with absolute ease, but just a lot of legacy people just leaving. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, I have to add something to that so that your viewers know, because you mentioned, Haas, that you don't know if the Bitcoins are there at Grayscale or not. Let's just say they have X amount of Bitcoins that they claim they have for customers, and you said that you don't know if they actually have X amount or not. Just so you guys know that are listening to this, guys, in order for you to be a custodian, to qualify as a custodian, which means that you are holding coins or money or gold or any asset on behalf of the customer, there's certain filing and there's certain reporting laws and there's certain auditing laws that you have to follow. For example, you have to hire an outside auditor to come in and audit your assets. For example, I think that they use, I just did a quick search.
I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that in theory. But like, when has a bank ever followed like laws and regulations? Like every single like day, we read about a bank getting fined for money laundering or not not complying with compliance laws. Like it's too easy to do.
Well, we're comparing two different things here, guys. We're comparing the small, minute amount. You know how many thousands and millions of banks there are in the world that comply with the law? Just because there's one or two, banks or a small number of banks that don't comply with the law and do something illegal, right? We can't cast that doubt on everyone. That's just like, that's like saying, one or two bad cops, and we say that millions of cops in America are bad or around the world are bad. I don't subscribe to that type of attributing what a small minority of people or businesses do to the whole majority. Okay.
No,
So
totally agree. But we are talking about the guy that authored the SegWit 2x defense. So like, there's great reason for like Bitcoiners to be skeptical of these people. Like, they don't really have a good history of like ethical, moral behavior.
okay, so you're combining your personal moral and ethical, mindset onto a business that pays a large sum of money for outside auditors to come in and audit them. Now, if you looked at their audit report and you said, Tai, I disagree with this audit. It says that they have X amount of coins. There's only so many minted each day by the Bitcoin network, and I don't see how they could have achieved this. I want more clarity on this. And you look at their audit report and you say that, maybe I can agree with it. But to say that an American company that is following the laws in the U.S. that's paying large sums of money to get audited, on a regular basis so that they can comply with U.S. laws, to say that they're a fraud or that they're fishy or something like that. I've been accused of things that I didn't do before, and I had to go to prison for it. My brother has been accused of, crimes that he did not do, and he has spent the majority of his life in it before. So I am very cautious when I point the finger and accuse somebody. Like when I accuse somebody, I clearly state the laws that they're breaking. Okay, and sometimes there'll be people online. I hate their guts. I think they're POS. I gotta keep it 13, PG-13. I hate them. In person, I probably slap the crap out of them. Okay, if they come to Vietnam, I probably beat the hell out of them just because I don't like them. Okay, but just because I don't like them doesn't mean I go online and accuse them of being a fraud or a scammer. They have to break a law in the country they're in the jurisdiction they're in before I open my mouth and say that, hey, that guy's a fraud, or that guy, like Richard Wynn, to me, he's breaking SEC laws very blatantly. He doesn't think he is, but with that Hex crypto, that BS crypto that he's releasing to everybody, and he's raising money for it, he thinks he's that. I'm calling him out right now. I've been calling him out all over, but I'll go on video to say it, and I'll be one to show you what laws he's violating. So he's violating U.S. SEC laws because he's in the U.S. jurisdiction. That I will say, but I'm not just going to go up there and randomly just say that this, just because I don't like somebody doesn't mean that they're doing something wrong.
All right. We've stretched out GBTC to a point where we're talking about who. So let's. I would move on. We did speak of custodial aspects of GBTC and protest of Coinbase. So I want to tie it all in here because JW Weatherman has a very interesting tweet that Hass and I were talking about beforehand. How about a protest where we all provably lock up $10 of Bitcoin per month for 10 years? What do you think about that one, Hass?
Like I was telling you earlier, OPSEC nightmare, because $10 doesn't sound like a lot, but the true believers know that if you do lock it up for 10 years, it is a target on your back, and everyone knows me, how religious and spiritual I am about Bitcoin, and your religion should be kept. Your religion and charity and donations should be kept private. So just make a personal commitment to lock up this money and save, not for anyone else's benefit, but your own. But at the same time, by locking up this money, you are effectively you are committing the greatest act of charity humanity has ever known. So what I mean by that is if you want to save like the trees or like the animals, like you donate to Greenpeace. Like if you want to like I don't know help with blood donations or whatever, like you donate to the Red Cross. Who do you donate to fix the money? Which is arguably the only worthy cause in the world. You just donate to Bitcoin, the only charity or the second charity in history where you can donate and have an impact and become enriched off the back of your donations.
Well, I'll say this. People are saying that Bitcoin is the true protest. And I think what JW might be going toward here is that everyone can talk a big game, like, yeah, I bought Bitcoin and I protested. But if there was like a place where everyone could see all the protesters that did it every single month, and you see this is the OPSEC issue here and everything. I mean,
not just that, the traders would love it. They could just start. There's all the indicators laid out on paper in front of them, which they could trade against. So it's
let me hear, Trav. What do you think about Bitcoin as a protest and this very public version of it?
I agree with Haas for sure. I think creating this big honeypot of money, it's kind of like almost, it would be a show, to be honest. And it's still against everything Bitcoin is about. It's decentralized. So what is the point of putting all this money into a pot? And how do you even decide how it ever gets used? I mean, that you're going to cause more problems than you're solving, to be honest.
Well, okay, all right. It's provably lock up $10 of Bitcoin per month. I mean, it wouldn't be it'd be your own personal pot, but then people would know it was your personal pot. It would just. It's a statement, a visual statement against inflation. I'll say that. That's a nice way of putting it. Well, let's talk about protests real quick with Tai Zen. Tai Zen, I don't know if you saw, but there was a guy at a Black Lives Matter protest saying that he was encouraging people to use Bitcoin. So what you were saying before at the beginning of the show is that that's kind of it shows the power of Bitcoin, that people that you probably disagree with on the Black Lives Matter thing, they might get into Bitcoin and that'll be good for Bitcoin and no one can stop them from getting into Bitcoin. But what do you think about these protests that have been going on? And did you see that clip of the guy talking about Bitcoin at one of the Black Lives Matter protests?
Yes, I saw the black guy talking through the megaphone about telling the protesters to buy Bitcoin, And to me, it's good. It's good that we have somebody talking about it to spread the word. But, it's also, you got to do it at the right times and in the right place, for people. If I go to the middle of a World Cup soccer game and tell people to start buying Bitcoin, or I go to, a Super Bowl game and talk about buying Bitcoins, or to a UFC fight or something and tell people to buy Bitcoins, I don't think it's going to have a lot of effect, simply because you're in the wrong environment and the people are not there. They're there to throw bricks at cops and throw bricks at people and stuff like that and protest. They're not there to look for a financial way out. I believe this, just like Adam, like you became financially free because of crypto, because of Bitcoin, and because my family became financially free. We're not enslaved to the system anymore. We're not stuck to the 9-to-5 job anymore. I think that that's the best way that you beat the system. You want to beat the man, you want to beat the system, you escape from the 9-to-5 chain and go live the life that you want you and your family to live. One of the things that motivated me when I got out of prison, after being in prison for nearly 14 years, when I came out, I realized that the people around me in society are in a prison. They're in a prison of a failed marriage. They're in a prison of a bad relationship. They're in a prison of drug addiction or alcohol addiction. They're in a prison where they're stuck in a corporate job where they're paid just enough to where they can't leave. They get paid just enough to where, you know what, if I leave, it's just, oh man, it's not really worth it. So that's what in America, they call the golden handcuffs, right? And to me, that was a bigger prison than the one I was in when I was in federal prison, because at least I can see the steel bars and the steel doors and the razor wire that's keeping me in the prison. I know that once I get past these steel doors, I'm free. But the people that walk around every day, they walk around. There's no steel doors. There's no steel bars, man. And the worst prison that you can be in is where you're in a prison where it's invisible and you don't see it. You're stuck in that 9-to-5 job. You waste 40 years of your life there. What? Just to come out, just to get Social Security, just to get a small, measly retirement income? The way you beat that is you escape that rat race. You escape that system and you go live the life that you want to live, like what you're doing right now, Adam, or what I'm doing right now, and many of our students and our team members are doing. That's how you beat the system, you know? And I wouldn't say that I would say, you know, I would encourage people to get some crypto, buy $10, $100, whatever you can afford, right? That, you know, don't starve your family, but whatever you can afford. And, you know, if holding it for a year allows you to have the financial freedom that you want, holding it for 10 years gives it, you know, whatever it does, get yourself free of the current system that you're in. That's the best way to beat the system. And then you have the free time, like myself and like Adam, to go and you know, preach to other people and share our experiences with other people to help free them. You know, I'm grateful that I am financially free. I'm grateful that, you know, I learned how to do this stuff and share it with other people so they can become financially free. Because I know that every person I help, they're going to help one or two people. And to me, that's the best way to get people free of the system that we're in right now, you know?
Oh, wow. Inspirational thoughts from Tai Zen. Pound that like button. Well, we're obviously at the end of the show right now, so I want everybody to give their final thoughts, their conclusions, anything that was left off. We'll start with Linear Trav. I want to hear about your give us a little talk about 3D printing, because you're into that. And this is the golden age. It's not just about cryptocurrency in the 2020s. I think 3D printing is huge also.
No, that's true. I think there's a lot of parallels between 3D printing and Bitcoin. In the last 10 years, just like Bitcoin has evolved, so has 3D printing. And I think the capabilities that are being built by small groups all around, it really is amazing. I mean, and you know, to tie in with the theme that we've had of censorship resistance, permissionless and unconfiscatable, I think those lines of ethos are starting to bleed in the 3D printing community. I think you know, things like 3D printed guns they're fighting the same battles that they are with Bitcoin. I mean, code is free speech, whether that code is C++ for Bitcoin or, you know, G code. And they're fighting those battles line by line. Just like Bitcoin is moving every 10 minutes with a new block. So we could talk about it and maybe some other time, Adam, all the specifics, but you know, I think it really is the communities that are being built like Bitcoin are there in 3D printing. And I think there's a possibility of those ethoses coming together. And I'm just excited to see where that's going to go in the future and to be a part of it. So thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Keep on being in motion, 3D printing motion. I love it.
Since
Tai Zen, going to say something there?
Yeah, since you brought the 3D printing, man, I want to follow behind Mr. Trav there with what he said. So there's a website called reprap.org. Rep like a representative and rap like hip hop rap.org. I highly recommend that you take a look at it because they offer like open source 3D printing, and they have a huge community that if you're like not financially, what do you call that? If you're financially challenged and you don't have enough money to buy your own 3D printer, the community is really supportive, and they'll actually help you print your printer. I think that's like the baddest, like, to me, I've never said this until you brought it up, Adam Meister, okay? But outside of crypto and blockchain technology, I think that the most revolutionary technology in the planet, in the universe right now, is 3D printing. Like, I don't care if my kids go to school or not, okay? I don't care about none of that, but I will get them some software and some hardware so they can all learn 3D printing right now, okay? As soon as they're capable of, operating a computer and following instructions, that's like the first toy that I will get for my kids, okay? I came from a manufacturing background. Many of you guys, if you've been following me for a long time, you know that I grew up, as a machinist, a welder, and, I used to build commercial fishing boats down in southeast Texas around the Houston area, and I've worked on pretty much all the Vietnamese fishing boats down there and the shrimp boats down there in the Gulf Coast area. I promise you, I probably worked on about 95% of all these boats there before 1993, okay, before I went to prison, okay? And when I came out of prison, when I saw what 3D printing was, man, I was up for hours. Like, there's only been a couple of things in my life. One was like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and reading The Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, realizing that, hey, if I change my mindset, I can create the life that I want to live. Number two is probably blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And then number three would probably be 3D printing, that in that order right there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm telling you guys, the what I plan on doing is after the crypto boom is over and it starts to become stable, just like the traditional stock market and the Forex market and stuff, I will be devoting all my time, effort, and resources into 3D printing. One of my goals was to set up like a nonprofit, what do you call that? Like trade school in Vietnam, just to help out the Vietnamese community and get them educated about 3D printing, because I believe that levels the playing field. That 3D printing, took away, like in the old days, you had that big, lathes, milling machines, all kinds of really heavy industrial equipment just to manufacture stuff. And nowadays, you can prototype, if you have a plan to invent new things, right? You can prototype and make a prototype with these 3D printers before you take it to market. And I believe that just levels the playing field for the poor communities, the poor countries, and the countries that don't have adequate, industrial equipment to manufacture and do all this stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'll be happy to stay in touch with you, Linear Trav, and maybe when I get that set up, bring you over and educate some of our Vietnamese young, engineers and young people to the art of 3D printing, because I think that to me is a game changer. And I actually put it on almost the same level as blockchain, as Bitcoin. I really do put that almost up there at the same level.
Golden age in motion here. We're making connections. This is unbelievable. I love it. I love the positivity because, in the world today, we keep on hearing about destruction, people tearing things down, people are jealous of other people. There's disease, there's death, there's this, that. But look, this is reality. This is the golden age. This is what's going to change the world. The new stuff, the cryptocurrency, the freaking 3D printing. All right, Hass McCook, what are your conclusionary thoughts?
I'd say I'd tell everyone to stand up for what you believe in. Believe in something. If you don't believe in anything, believe in Bitcoin at least. Save yourself. Stack those sats. And with every sat you lock up, Bitcoin becomes more and more stable, and the more and more stable it is, the more and more it can truly help the unbanked. So just like rich people buying the Tesla Model S made the Tesla Model 3 possible, rich people stacking sats is what it's going to take to get this baby big and stable enough to help out the unbanked. So dig deep, do your part, give to this Bitcoin charity, and it's like playing life on cheat codes. It's only the second charity in history where you donate and you become rich.
Excellent point. Thank you for returning to the show. It's late at night in Australia. You'll get some a good night's sleep tonight, no doubt. Now we'll end it with Tai Zen with his conclusionary thoughts. Anything he wanted to add? And he did bring up one thing I wanted him to just give me an opinion on. You brought up Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the guy who wrote that, Kiyosaki, whatever the way you pronounce his name, lately he's been saying, and I quote, "I love Bitcoin." Have you heard about that?
Yes, and I do respect Robert Kiyosaki. You know, he's one of the most influential people in my life. You know, that I can conclusively say that his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's it, made me quit college for good, and that's the book that made me not put my kids in college also. Because in order for them, the only reason to go to college is to make money, guys. Let's just be real about it, okay? We're not there to be well-rounded. If you want to be well-rounded, go be well-rounded on your own. You don't need to pay $25,000 a year or $50,000 a year to be well-rounded. You can easily learn how to do that, just by hanging around the right people, all right? So what I want to wrap up with is if you guys watch this, you guys will notice that, you guys know that Adam and I have different views about Bitcoin, Linear Trav and I have different views about Bitcoin, okay? But one of the things that I recommend to people is that don't let your personal views and opinions about one topic cause you to lose out on opportunities that you can meet with other people. Like, I don't let, it's obvious that Linear, Trav, and I have different views about Bitcoin, about Coinbase, and maybe Grace, a lot of things, But you know what? He and I can still come to terms on 3D printing, right? He might have some amazing knowledge. He might have some revolutionary ideas about 3D printing that I've never seen or heard of. Okay, so don't be so closed-minded, right? Yeah, you can have strong opinions about something, but don't, be prepared that, hey, if somebody has some ideas or something that, hey, you know what, that could possibly work, or that's a good idea or something. Don't let your personal opinions about one issue derail you from not seeing that in someone else. I don't know if I'm explaining that clearly. If you guys want to add to that, but that's what I encourage people to do during this bear market, during this coronavirus crash and all this other stuff. One of the biggest things that you can do besides, getting crypto, Bitcoin, whatever that you like, right? Like Adam and everyone on this panel is saying, is that one of the most important things that you can do in life is to network and connect with other people that provide value. That's one of the biggest things. Like, go out there, go to meetups. Don't let this social distance and all this crap and this hoax that the mainstream media has created prevent you from going out there and meet real human beings, guys. Right? You go out there, right? I attribute my wealth, my success, my financial freedom to all the people that I have met in life, and I have networked with, become friends with, and appreciate what they do. That is one of the most important things that you can do. Second to, getting some crypto into your portfolio. Go out there, meet people, connect with people, find people that do things that you like and connect with them, get to know them, spend some time with them, invite them out for a coffee, invite them, to go do things like real human beings do. Don't just tweet to them. Don't just chat with them online. Create real human relationships. And that's going to pay off in the end. Okay.
All right. In motion is what we say around here. Be in motion. Don't be a tree. Get out there, network. Tai is on this stuff. And it's always an opportunity when people are talking. Even it's exactly what he said. You don't agree on everything, but you could find something that you do find. I mean, you don't know what a new relationship will blossom. So I love these shows. I love bringing different types of people together like this. And this is what it's all about, being in motion. Okay, dudes, we do this every single Friday. You never know what time it's going to be on. You never know who's going to be on, but it's the best freaking guest in the space. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Subscribe to this backup channel. Pound that like button, bang that bell button. Shabbat shalom, as we say. Tomorrow you'll get Beyond Bitcoin, because we do a new show here every day. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for having me
tomorrow. Thanks a bunch.
Thanks for having us.
See you next week, dudes. You all right.